Odom meky.
Ahoj, ahoj. Just a second. So, can you hear me? Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen. We are back on the starting grid of the Autodrom Most here before the second GT sprint of the 2023 ESET Cup Series, and the pit lane has just been closed, so we are awaiting all the cars on the starting grid, some of them already here, and the order is quite surprising now because it's been raining since the morning. Now the track is still wet, and when you just simply put water on the track, it brings chaos, it brings mix-ups, and that's exactly what happened in today's qualifying earlier on today. Filip Salaquarda has been dominating the entire season so far, but for the first time this year, we have him only over there on row number 2 because he was bettered by 2 Lamborghinis in the qualifying earlier on today. We have got Denis Vašek on the front row, who set the second fastest lap time of the qualifying. But we are now awaiting the fastest car of them all from today's quali, and that is Michanek Motorsports Junior Joachim Galaš. Michanek Motorsport, their presence as usual quite exciting. We've also got the Miss Czech Republic, we've got Jiří Michanek, the team boss, and everybody who really needs to be in the center of the action. Let's hear from the man himself, who set a blisteringly fast lap time earlier on today in the qualifying, Joachim Galaš. Can we now have a quick chat? Hang on a second, just give us a minute, because we have to decide which tires to put on. It's not raining anymore, but the track is still wet on some of the parts. But you may have seen in the TCR race earlier on that the racing line has already started to dry up, so it's going to be really exciting to watch. And we'd love to hear from the man himself. Okay, let's give them a minute. It's actually Joachim Galaš on pole position. Alongside him, the other Lamborghini, it's Denis Vašek on the front row. Quick changes. Slick tires don't seem to be the tire of choice, actually, because Joachim Galaš has just tried the slicks on the run to the starting grid, but it seems that the track is still too moist, too wet, too slippery. So we are about to change the tires to the grooved ones to be able to get the water from underneath them. Last words between Joachim Galaš and his mentor, Josef Záruba. Joachim, fantastic qualifying earlier on. It was raining. And my question is simple. What are you doing here? How did you pull that out?
Well, I managed to get a great timing on the very last lap of the session. You know, so when the track was at its best condition, I think, and even though the lap was almost perfect, it could have been 0.2 faster. But hey, it was still enough to grab the pole position overall, which is an amazing achievement, you know, between all the GT3s. it's a good feeling, you know, to be the leader in the first row.
Yeah, great stuff. It's going to be exciting because you've just changed to wet tires. I see the same tires on the car of Denis Vasek. He beat you yesterday. What are you going to do about it in this race?
I will make sure to return the favor. I will do everything in my power to win the race, you know, because he already had his fill this weekend. So it's time for the others to have, you know, the #1 trophy. But we'll see, you know, it's two of us to the first corner. The start is going to be interesting. In these conditions, you're always eyeballing the point where you're going to brake, but now it's going to be even trickier with the wet conditions.
Great stuff, great stuff here. Your pole sitter, your championship leader, Joachim Galash, and we are going to make our way to the other side of the grid. We also have got the president of the Czech Republic, Petr Pavel, now entering the B8 Alpina. He's going to do the formation lap of this race, and we've also got the Czech Formula 2 driver, Roman Staněk, with us here today on the starting grid. But let's now see what Denis Vasek can do about that pole lap and that other Lambo of Joachim Galash. Denis, hi. It was an exciting qualifying earlier on today in full wet conditions. Now it's sort of dry wet. It's going to be maybe even more exciting. But Joachim just beat you in qualifying. What are you going to do about that in the race?
I mean, the position will be decided in the race, so I will fight for it. I will fight for P1. And the qualifying was tight. The race will be also tight, hopefully. It will be fun. So, yeah, I'll push hard. I will see.
Denis Vasek on the front row of the grid. He won the GTC race yesterday in the sprint. As it comes to the second row of the grid, it's Matěj Pavlíček, the other Michanek Motorsport Junior. He's following his teammate, so he's also going to want to get himself into the mix, and alongside him, the dominating car of the championship so far, Filip Salaquada. He will definitely want to come forward in his GT3 car. So let's go and watch the race. The track is still wet. We still have wet weather tires, but the racing line is drying up. So let's see what this race is going to bring.
Hello, my name is Adam Kout. I'm driver of Hyundai Janík Motorsport in TCR Eastern Europe, and now I will show you my favorite places on Autodrom Most. Now we are in the first chicane on the Most circuit. It's after the start and finish straight. We have to brake very late here and stay on the right side after the right corner to have a good exit for the next straight. Now we are in the fastest corner on the Autodrom Most. Very late braking, one downshift and then on the throttle, and you can go on the curb as far as you can and take as much speed as you can to the next straight. We are in the series of the 3 corners known as Matador. Very late braking to the right corner, then you have to stay inside in the left one to be good prepared to the right third corner, which is full throttle, and take as much speed as you can to the last straight under the paddock. Those were my favorite places on Autodrom Most. I hope you enjoy it and see you in the race. Bye!
And we are underway to commence the formation lap here before the GT Sprint number 2 at the Autodrom Most. Cars getting ready at this 4.2 kilometer track, and let us examine together with them as we go around that formation lap what the track conditions really are, because we saw on the grid that the front row starters actually chose and opted to get rid of the slick tires and actually go back to the grooved tires for the wet conditions. But is that going to be maybe too much? You see that the racing line is already visible, so the track is dry there, but everywhere else, if you stick a wheel outside that racing line, you might find yourself spinning into the gravel. So it also depends on the fact how fast that racing line is going to widen, how fast the racing track is going to dry up. It's going to be exciting, and this is what we want to see. This is now no strategies, nothing. It's just all in the hands of the racing drivers and their talent and their skills. Let's see who has more of it. Let's see who runs out of it maybe, and let's just enjoy a 25 minutes full of beautiful racing action. We mentioned that on the front row we've got Joachim Galaš and Denis Vašek. They actually swapped places, swapped sides. The pole position normally should be on the inside for the rolling starts, but it is really Joachim Galaš on pole position. Behind him we have got Denis Vašek. The race, of course, is declared wet, and we have got that Alpina with the Czech president Petr Pavel being taken around the track as a guest. On row number 2, we have got Filip Salaquarda actually in third in his R8 Audi. Alongside him will be slotted Matěj Pavlíček in the other Michanek Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo. Row number 3, Libor Milota in his GT3 AMG GT Mercedes, prepared by GT2 Motorsport team. Alongside him on row number 3, Jacek Zielonka in that tiny little radical. Row number 4, Petr Kačírek and Václav Janík. Row number 5, Petr Brecka, Pavel Sovička. Row number 6, Antal Žigo, together with Ivan Vlachkov. And behind them, the car number 839, Maxwell Polzler. We do not have Jakub Klobasa, who had to retire for technical issues already yesterday, and also we're missing ARC Bratislava's Miro Konopka. But let's go racing now. The red lights are off, and Joachim Galaš immediately shoots into the lead, but he is being attacked by Denis Vašek from the inside. They are now going side by side. Hard under braking goes Denis Vašek to actually snatch the lead from Joachim Galaš. Matěj Pavlíček fighting for third with Filip Salaquarda, but staying behind. There's also a scrap for P5 between Libor Milota and Jacek Zielonka. That Radical is really agile through the first chicane, but remains behind that Mercedes. So it's now Denis Vašek leading the race from Galaš and Filip Salaquarda down in third. So exciting stuff right from the get-go. Denis Vašek, he was first already yesterday. He actually overtook Filip Salaquarda at the start, but then missed the chicane, still won his class. But now he has to fight directly with the other GTC machines. The first one is Joachim Galaš. Both Michanek Motorsport guys took some time before they actually got through the field, and by that time Denis Vašek was already gone away with the race lead and took the victory. Crucially, this is the start of the second half of the 2023 ESET Cup GT Sprint campaign, and Denis Vašek has got the fewest points in the standings. It's actually Joachim Galaš who's leading, and he's now dropping down the order. Filip Salaquarda starting to pounce in his R8 Audi. That's the leading GT3 car, and Filip Salaquarda is now through on Joachim Galaš. But look at Denis Vašek go. He's really trying to make the most of the opening laps and of the very well prepared and very well heated tires. So he's pulled a bit of a gap. Carefully around the second to last corner. Also Libor Milota slotting behind Matěj Pavlíček. This is going to be quite some fight down the pit straight. Filip Salaquarda already up to second. Behind him Galaš, behind him Pavlíček, behind him Libor Milota in his AMG Mercedes. And there's the Radical of Jacek Zielonka with, is that Václav Janík? Yes, it is. Janík Motorsport enjoying huge success a little earlier on today with the double victory in the Eastern European TCR. They also scored the endurance victory in the GTX class yesterday, so a great weekend overall for the home squad here. And these are the two Michanek Motorsport youngsters. What are they going to do? Because Denis Vasek, there he is. He's trying to get away with it. They have got the leading GT3 between themselves now. And this might be the chance for Matěj Pavlíček. He's been left in Joachim's shadow pretty much through the weekend and not really happy about the results. We have had a couple of chats in the pits and you could see that he's definitely not happy about the way the weekend was unfolding. But is this the chance for him? Joachim Galaš is now putting a foot wrong. He was a little wider than he needed to be, and this is allowing Matěj Pavlíček to close even further still, and they are really, really behind one another. This is now going to be a home fight between the two Michanek Motorsport youngsters. Look at that, it's already getting quite dry, and that means that those wet tires will start to overheat, so the drivers are trying to find the wetter patches around the track to actually cool the tires right down. Around the last corner we go. There is Denis Vasek immediately aiming it to the inside, which is still remaining sort of wet, but not wet enough. We do see the dry racing line now. Denis Vasek making a little mistake, and this is allowing Filip Salaquarda to really close up behind, and they are going to have a fight with one another now, exiting the first chicane. Vasek still cooling the tires down on the wetter part of the track. This is not an easy part to overtake. So Filip Salaquarda remaining second. He knows he needs to stay patient, no need to hurry. This is actually for the overall victory, but not for the class victory. Filip Salaquarda, he will have plenty of chances, and he also knows that this is not the fight that Denis Vasek unnecessarily needs to take. But they are being slightly and gradually caught up by Galaš and Pavlíček. Fastest lap from Filip Salaquarda on the previous round, 145.0. He went nearly a full second quicker than Denis Vasek. Hard under braking right from the inside where the water still is. Ooh, that's a bit of a moment for Vasek. He's now leaving the door open for Filip Salaquarda, who is now taking the lead of the race. Filip Salaquarda back in the first spot in his GT3 R8 Audi. Denis Vasek slipstreaming past, and they are going to have another fight into the first corner. As I mentioned, Denis Vasek doesn't really need to take this one, but he needs to protect himself from the following Lamborghinis. Filip Salaquarda holding on to first. Will he now get a chance to run away with it? He might very well get that one. Filip Salaquarda back in the lead. That's what we know this season. The ISR Racing's Audi R8 at the head of the race. Denis Vasek, though, still driving very nicely. He managed to take the better of the Michanek Motorsport duo yesterday. Is he going to do the same today? Debris on track at turn 17. Something's happened there. Let's see if we can actually get a shot of that somewhere and find whatever the problem is. But for now, the race is still very much on in changing conditions, on drying track. Libor Milota remaining in fifth. He's currently having a rather quiet race, but we're still very much in the beginning of it. So let's simply wait what happens in the second part and who still has the tires to do some meaningful performance. Because the tire management might be really key and crucial towards the end of the race. It's only 25 minutes, but still, let's not forget we're actually racing wet weather tires on a drying track. So towards the end, they're bound to start overheating, and we have to wait and see who takes care of their tires the best. Antal Gigot, the sole GT4 entry, so this is a nice Sunday drive for Antal, gaining yet more experience, and more importantly, in the wet/dry conditions, that's always coming in handy. This is the leading Audi. Filip Salakvada already enjoying nearly 4 seconds of the lead. Vasek only a second ahead of Galash. Pavlíček dropping behind slightly. Still remaining in the mix there. Antal Gigot in his GT4 BMW M4. This is also a great situation for him in terms of the championship. Yes, he's the sole GT4 car here. There's still a couple of events to contest. In 2 weeks' time, we're going to Slovakia, to the Slovakia ring just outside Bratislava, and then for the season finale in another 3 weeks' time at the beginning of September in Brno. There are the Mechanik Motorsport guys. Let's just examine the point standings right now, since the race entered a little calmer phase right now, around the middle part of it. Everybody seems to be starting to struggle a little bit. Everybody's trying to find the water on the straights, but there simply isn't any left. It's only sort of damp. So no water spray behind the cars visible anymore. Sprint standings. Filip Salakvada at 143 points before the most round. From Libor Milota at 91, Piotr Vera at 57. Piotr Vera, unfortunately, not racing here in the Czech Republic. Antal Gigot. He is actually second in the GT4 classification behind Zeno Kováč. Zeno Kováč not contesting this round. And then the GTC class. That's also a really exciting one. Joachim Galash came to Most with a lead. He had 113 points to his name, compared to 97.5 of his teammate Matěj Pavlíček and 64.5 of Denis Vasek. But Denis Vasek managed to beat both of the Mechanik Motorsport guys yesterday, and he is now leading them in today's race as well. Just as the clock ticks over to 13:00. And we're about to reach the halfway mark of the second sprint of the weekend. A really, really exciting fight. Two different worlds, these two teams. If you visit the garage of GT2 Motorsport on the side of Denis Vašek, very humble environment. Denis Vašek there with his girlfriend and also his two dependable mechanics. Mara and Jarda on the other side of the wall, the entire army of Mechanik Motorsport with all the presents that's connected with that. They've invited Czech Miss Mirka Pikolová. They've got beautiful cars in the paddock once again. They've got army of mechanics, race engineers, and also, as usual, the team mentor of young drivers, Pepa Záruba. He was actually racing himself yesterday in the endurance race, and they did very well together with Kurt Wagner to come out on top. And you did see, actually, before the race started, when we visited the starting grid, that shout out to really get all the emotions out and get all excited about the race, together with Josef Záruba and Joachim Galáš. The exciting ritual. Joachim Galáš, however, currently running second in the GTC class behind Denis Vašek. Filip Salaquarda, he's now firmly in the lead. 8.4 seconds across the line. Completely undisputed. He's still managing to find wet patches. There is Libor Milota in the second GT3 entry for today's race. We have got Petr Kačírek running in third in the class. P8 overall. And this is another very interesting fight. You've got the large and extensive GT3 Mercedes, and up against that is pitching, this is the David and Goliath basically, because this is Jacek Zielonka. He's been racing in England actually lately. We did have him in the ESET Cup series a couple of years back. We also met together. It was very nice to actually bump into each other 2 years back in Italy at Monza at the Formula One Grand Prix, where Jacek Zielonka was actually contesting one of these sports car championship rounds. And lately he's been racing in England, but he's back for Most because he simply wanted to visit us once again, and that was a happy and familiar face to see and bump into in the paddock this weekend. So always great to have a few words with Jacek, and he is now doing exactly what we love to see. A couple of years back, his tiny little radical, I also love to call it like tiny little puppy, biting on the ankles of the larger dogs, but really enjoying himself on the racetrack once again here in Most. 9 minutes left in this race. Salaquarda leading, Vašek leading the GTC class. Joachim Galáš catching up, but what is there a scrap between Galáš and Pavlíček? Because we've just seen in the graphics those two names switch back and forth. No, the order is still the same. Filip Salaquarda has, by the way, has just set the fastest lap of the race in 1:42.6. Denis Vašek, his personal best, 1:44.1, and he has now set the overall fastest first sector, 25.25. Mind you, Filip Salaquarda only did 1/4 of a second slower than that, if I can even get my head around that number. Joachim Galáš, he was getting closer, but then lost 2 seconds across the last lap. That's a lot. There they are. He did 1:46.1. Matěj Pavlíček, his personal best, 1:45.0. So he chopped away an entire second from the advantage of Joachim Galáš. There is the GTC race leader. We've got Libor Milota in 6th. Václav Janík then leading the GTX class. in 7th overall. Pavel Sovička in the other GTX KTM in 10th place as the second guy in the GTX class. Right behind him, Ivan Vlachkov with the other GTX machine. A couple of classes, but still nice battles in all of them. Some of them actually being a little more distant than others, but still. Great race to watch. As I mentioned, the race start, that was properly exciting. We still had quite a lot of water outside the racing line. Drivers trying to look for it as they're still trying to cool down the tires. They opted for wet weather tires, which are now really overheating. So it's a bit of a survivor game right now. Everybody's just trying to stay on the track, keep it on the black stuff, as they say, and just not overheat the tires too much and still keep some sort of life in them for the remaining laps. Because if they drop off, then your performance is going to worsen dramatically, and then you'll be just what we like to call a sitting duck. This is a terrible moment for Petr Brecka. He made a mistake entering the opening chicane. He was trying to stage a fight with the RTR Projects KTM of Pavel Sovička, but he outbraked himself, found no grip on the front tires, understeered off the line and opened the door right wide for Pavel Sovička, who did not need to be invited twice. Drifting around the second to last corner. The car sort of bumping, jumping around, but look at that. This is what we mentioned. There were 2 seconds between Vasek and Galáš, and they are not there anymore. Across the line they go. Filip Salakvarda in another overall fastest lap of the race, 141.6. He is in a league of his own, but look at what is currently happening in the GTC class, because all 3 Lambos are now getting back together. Denis Vasek only 0.9 seconds ahead of Joachim Galáš, who himself is only 1.2 seconds ahead of his teammate Matěj Pavlíček. And what a lap that now was from Matěj Pavlíček. Massive, 143.9 compared to Denis Vasek 146.4, Joachim Galáš 145.3. Where did he find that? Matěj Pavlíček, he seems to have been patient in the early stages of the race, but now, is it true that his tires are now the most alive tires in the GTC class? Because if so, then he is going to find himself in an attacking mode, in an attacking position. That's what we want to see. Remaining laps, and this race is now going to get exciting again. It was a calmer mid-part of the race, but that's what it needs to be, to preserve the tires. But now there is all to play for in the GTC class. Denis Vasek has had the upper hand ever since the start up until now, but now Michanek Motorsport youngsters are going to bite. Joachim Galáš choosing the inside line, entering the last corner, and through he goes, and through goes Pavlíček, and the tables have now turned, and Michanek Motorsport guys are now leading the GTC class, but Matěj Pavlíček shoots in the lead. What a stuff there from Matěj Pavlíček. From 3rd to 1st in the matter of just 2 corners for him. Vasek is now through on Galáš. What happened to Galáš there? Joachim Galáš dropping down the order. Just as he took the lead in the GTC class, he's dropped it again. And where is he? He's lost a couple of seconds there. What a scrap for first in the GTC class. That's what we want to see. And Matěj Pavlíček, he's been in the shadow of his teammate, who together with him have been in the shadow of Denis Vasek in yesterday's race. But the situation is now completely different. And Matěj Pavlíček, is he going to rise to shine here on Sunday? He's now leading from Vasek, but only just. Vasek still staying together with Matěj Pavlíček. He's got him right in front and this is going to be exciting. We've got Ivan Vlakov, one of the back markers. He was in the pits, something not quite right with his GTX car, but he's clearing the racing line for the other drivers to come through, and they are through safely now. Matěj Pavlíček in the lead of the GTC class from Denis Vašek, but only just. He's still hanging on to that second place and hanging on to that potential to really come back with a fight for the race victory. 2.5 minutes left on the clock, and there is still everything to play for here in Most. So if you complained that the summer break was too long and we got too sleepy, we may have got too rusty, whatever. This is a wake-up call for everybody. But what happened to Galaš? What happened to Joachim Galaš? He was in the lead of the class at the start of this lap. Where is he? Where is he gone? He's only now entering the finish straight. Did he accidentally go into some sort of safety mode of his engine, or what happened there? Because he was shooting in the lead through the last corner, and then he very nearly stopped. He suddenly didn't get going onto the final straight. There he is, and just listen to this. Matěj Pavlíček, his personal best on that last lap, 143.6. Denis Vašek did 145.3. Joachim Galaš, 2 minutes, 0-1. And he's still not going fast, and he's being caught by Libor Milota now. That Lamborghini is in trouble. With a minute to go, he's still definitely going to fight for the podium. He can let Libor Milota through. That's not for the GTC positions. Libor Milota is entered in the GT3 class. And the next GTC car is Petr Brecka in 10th overall. So no case for concern for Joachim Galaš, but he will see his championship lead very much dented by his main rivals. Final lap for Filip Salaquarda already commenced. There is Libor Milota, second in the GT3 class. Let's have a little Sunday drive around Most with him. Oh, that Lamborghini doesn't sound healthy. Just hitting the limit. If it was Joachim, whom we heard from the ambient microphones, that car was just kicking the limiter all the way down the straight. Is there some sort of electronic glitch, or what happened with Joachim? We're gonna have to find out after this race ends. There is Salaquarda. He was patient at the start. That's exactly what we expected of him, because he really didn't need to go into aggressive fights. Unfortunately, we know what happens when you drive an Audi and you want too much too soon. Filip Salaquarda was patient and then collecting them one by one. And there is Joachim Galaš. He stopped at the pit entry. He has stopped just as Filip Salaquarda makes it around the final corner to win another one. Filip Salaquarda dominant at Autodrom Most to score his second home victory of the season. Filip Salaquarda, he was beaten in the first sprint of the season in Germany by Neil Verhagen. Ever since then, he has not given the first place to anyone. But Joachim Galaš, oh, look at this! Matěj Pavlíček has dropped it! That's unbelievable. He's dropped it, but he's still side by side with Denis Vašek, who is going to be faster across the line. This is going to be a photo finish between the two Lambos. Who's first? It must be Denis Vašek. Unbelievable, but only by the splitter's length. Unbelievable stuff here in Most. Matěj Pavlíček has dropped it in the final moment. That is absolutely unbelievable. Denis Vašek coming out victorious yet again. What a race. What a race. 25 minutes and it had absolutely everything. This was a photo finish. 19 thousandths of a second but it's actually Maciej Pawlicek clocked in first. I thought, looking from the side, that it was actually Denis Vasek a little ahead, but it wasn't. It's Maciej Pawlicek. Whoa, he very nearly lost it. Oh my goodness me, he was leading the race in the latter stages. He did a perfect job to keep his tyres alive, and I just very nearly thought that the GT2 Motorsport Lamborghini was slightly ahead across the line, but 19 thousandths of a second, that is absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. So you can't do the mistake, make the mistake that I've just made and rely on what you see with your eyes, because it's unspottable. It's completely invisible to a naked eye, and the timekeeping tells us the truth of the story. No, no, I saw it correctly. Look at that. It's Denis Vasek by 1,000th of a second. Try to blink in that time, everyone. What a race this was. 1,000th of a second. That's the tiniest margin that the live timing is able to show us. It can't be lower than that. And it's exactly what has been there between them. So it is Denis Vasek. It is Denis Vasek taking second victory of the weekend. So he has just snatched it from Maciej Pawlicek. He did a perfect job to keep his tyres alive all the way until the dying moments, and then he pounced. Then he started biting, and he took the lead away from Denis Vasek, first only following behind his teammate Joachim Galage, who still remains stationary at the pit entry. But as they negotiated the final corner, that car of Joachim Galacek suddenly slowed right down, and Maciej Pawlicek, together with Denis Vasek, shot past into the lead. Maciej Pawlicek was keeping it all the way until the last moments, but then he dropped the wheel onto the wetter part, started sliding, and opened the door for Denis Vasek. He did immediately jump after the opportunity. Maciej Pawlicek tried to stay right alongside, which he did, and they entered the final straight side by side, and they crossed the line 1,000th of a second from one another, with the timekeeping service actually clocking Denis Vasek just slightly ahead of Maciej Pawlicek. Unbelievable stuff. 25 minutes, and we've seen so much action. Let's just see that again in the race highlights.
Music licensing reimagined.
And on that last lap, it was actually Filip Salakvarda who set another fastest lap of the race, 140.3, doing a little bit of a Max Verstappen here. Denis Vasek scoring that GTC victory by 1,000th of a second from Maciej Pawlicek. Unbelievable stuff. This has been the best GT sprint of the season, and we've still got 4 more of them. The next one's coming up in 2 weeks' time in Slovakia at the Slovakia Ring. If this was not a good invitation for you, then nothing ever will be. But please come to get together with us to Slovakia and enjoy it together with us. Maybe you can come in person or just watch the live stream together with us. Either way, we're really excited to be together with you and to enjoy exactly these moments together. You know, we're going to be racing in Slovakia in 2 weeks' time, so let's just get a taste of what we can expect.